Good evening, and welcome to my new playlist for the Sagittarius New Moon 2023. I will be using one particular reference this evening for our new event that is unfolding. The Sagittarius New Moon 2023 is today. We have cast the chart for Tuesday, December 12th, December 2023, and the new moon at its exact point when Khonshu meets up with Ra is at 20 degrees 40 minutes Sagittarius. So what we have here is the Sabian symbol. Let me see if I could draw it up for you really quick here. A child and a dog with borrowed eyeglasses. So this is the Sabian symbol we are dealing with today. The chart casting system I have achieved through Astro.com. I've had an account with them for as long as I've been online, and I like to present the charts in this format right here. Even though I do have other chart casting systems, I find this is a very clean cut format. It gives us our elements, and plus it gives us our grid and our planetary aspects all within this beautiful rectile space. So this is great for us. So I can come out here, and we're using preview here on our Mac. So we can zoom up here and take a look at our event. This is a playlist, and what I will be doing in this new series is I will be creating playlists for every new moon, and we will add to the playlist as our events unfold, so we can understand and we can see how the planets play out in the moon timing. And that is the number one goal for this new series, is to watch our squabbles of the planets. I'll pull this down so we can see all the planets here in the chart here. Now, I thought it would be the perfect time to do this and bring this forward to present to you a proper identification tag for every event and time it unfolds after the new moon period. We will be observing our world leaders, but we will also be observing global events right through this lunar cycle, and we will keep on pinning events up until the full moon Sagittarius, which would be in Gemini, coming in June. So here we are. I have the stage set for Washington, D.C. on this cast. As the playlist develops, as I develop this playlist, I will connect events in correlation to the new moon, but also into the national affairs and the most importantly, the international affairs of the United States of America. Okay, and to watch the unraveling of events, because we have a special time here, folks. When we look at this, we have to look at the time of the event. When you are observing a chart, it's very important for you to connect your personal planets to the planets that you have in the chart and for where the chart is set and the date and the time. And the reason why I say this is because with our material eye, we find our observation, which is connected to the brain, which is connected to our soul, which is connected to our birth time. And when I say this, it helps me help you understand how this particular article of light is connected to me. And the reason why I say that is because when I draw the chart for Washington, D.C. at 6:31 p.m. at the exact time of the new moon, the moon ruling our mortality and the sun ruling our ego self, at 20 degrees, we find it in Sagittarius, but also when we look at the ascendant, it's a Cancer ascendant, and it brings the moon here as the ruling planet of the chart. Even though the sun is in Sagittarius, that ascendant brings our eye in tradition to the moon in observation. And what is the moon doing? The moon is conjunct with the sun. It's just right at the moment, okay? Perfect moment right here. And when I say when you have to look at your planets and look at your chart, when observing whatever chart that you draw, look at the ascendant, but look at all the other planets. Like for me, I have to look at this because I have a Mercury in Cancer at 13 degrees. And you see that it's only 2 degrees from the ascendant. So it's my Mercury would be just sitting inside that 12th house, but it would still be a conjunct ascendant. It would still be in Cancer because I have Mercury in Cancer, and it is 13 degrees and so minutes. So it's only like 2 minutes out, or 2 degrees out. So it makes it very, makes it very important for me to observe that, because in my own chart, I have an empty Capricorn house. I have no Capricorn planets. It's like one of my empty houses. So here we have Mercury. And I'm a Gemini ascendant at 1 degree 55 minutes. And my key planet is sitting at 8 degrees 29 minutes Capricorn. It's a true thing. Yes, it's my ruling planet, and as I said before, Cancer is on the ascendant and is conjunct my Mercury, my natal Mercury. Okay, so I am predestined by the will of creation for me to be here giving you this podcast today. It's a true thing, or my Mercury, or the ascendant for this chart would be conjunct my Mercury, which is my key planet, being a Gemini ascendant. And here I am, the reporter, which Gemini is. Gemini is he's the runner. He's a short distant runner. And what is he running with? He's running with documents. He has to deliver those documents. He has a twin, right? And a greater self. And that twin, he likes to pair up with is Jupiter, right? Because he is the intermittent traveler. He is the short distance traveler for Jupiter, right? And if when we can look at Jupiter is the distance the crow flies. And what do we do with the crow, right? We tie a message onto his foot. We tie a message around his leg. This is what we do with the crow. And then the crow flies a great distance for Jupiter, right? Because the crow will carry the message, which will bring higher learning. The crow will carry the message that will carry higher learning to the individual that is seeking higher ground. Because Jupiter rules the higher ground. As we know when we study astrology, Saturn is the basement. Saturn is Capricorn, And when we look at Capricorn here, Mercury's traveling through the sign of foundation, the earth, right? Saturn is the foundation, the earth, And Jupiter is the building that we build, the tree that comes to us. And we put the tree into the home. And we decorate the lights with the tree. And then we place the presents underneath the tree. Because this is what we do in Sagittarius. Because Sagittarius, when he's proper, he's a yes man to the sun. But remember, all the planets are rebellious to the sun. But at the same time, all the planets in our solar system are tied to the sun and by the weight of the sun alone. Even little Pluto, so little Pluto he is, way out there on the edge of the solar system. Not even a fraction of the size of the Earth, right? And here he is. Billions of years it takes 5 hours for the sunlight to get to him. He's so far out there, right? He's cold. He's a cold, cold one, Pluto. And here we have Pluto in this Capricorn house. At 28 degrees, 48 minutes, he's in direct motion for this new moon. And when we look at the new charts coming up to, we will have to see this, because Pluto is this cleanup guy. He's, for this new moon, above Washington, D.C., he's in that 7th house of Jupiter. And that's why we talk about Jupiter so much, okay? And when I communicate to you tonight, I will refer a book to you. I will put the ISBN number and the title of the book into the description here. And this book would be a very lightweight book to have for constant study, because when we look at the planets here, we have to understand, to learn about these planets is to know a selection of keywords that branch from each planet. For the sun, there's probably almost 100 keywords, right? The sun rules achievement. The sun rules aggrandizement, ambition, Apollo, approbation, ardor, aristocrats, arrogance, authority, ballrooms, boastful, bombastic, bosses, bright, brilliant, candor, cardiac. Like, the words go on and on, all the way through to zeal, yellow, willpower, wasteful, warmth, verifying, vitality, VIPs. This is the sun, all right? This is what we have to understand here when we're going to be setting out. This is a new moon Sagittarius. This is our new journey, our new playlist. And we're going to be looking at the moon. The moon is our mortality. Our minds will grow, with our ego self and the needs for our ego self. Because when we look at the sun this late in Sagittarius, because the hour is late, the sun will be crossing over. The days are still getting shorter. And soon, the sun will cross over into Capricorn. And he will begin to rise again in the horizon. This is what will happen. By the 12th, he will be, by the 25th, he will be beginning to crest on that horizon brilliantly. And as he rises each day higher and higher into our daytime sky, as when our days will become longer and longer here in North America. So this is what we have coming. But also on this particular new moon that we will follow, we will observe Mercury go retrograde. He will go retrograde ever so soon. In the hours to come, he will be retrograde. He will turn retrograde. He's near stationary right now. And then he will go retrograde, and then he will fall back into Sagittarius. And we have to look where Mercury is right now. Mercury is past his first trine with Jupiter and Taurus, which is in retrograde, right? So now, my friend, in the hours to come, Mercury will go retrograde, and he will begin his new trine to Jupiter. And they're talking together, you know. It's like the child holding the string onto the kite, and the key is there waiting for the lightning bolt of information from Jupiter. This is what we have when we look at this chart. So here we are. Sorry about that. I hope I didn't hurt your eyes. Here we are here. And we're going to go through these these planets and how they sit. But also, we're going to show you in our next chart to come. I'm going to just scroll right down here. I'm going to come out of the window, scroll down to the next chart. And here we have the chart of the U.S. And I'm going to come up here like so and bring this chart up to you for you like this. The chart of the U.S., the Declaration of Independence, the time sitting there in, Philadelphia, PA, this bustling little town it was back then. And we're going to look at this. And now, once again, when you pull up a chart, it's very important for you as the observer to see how your natal planets will connect with this chart. Because when I look at this chart, I see here we are. I see Sagittarius at 12 degrees 21 minutes, okay? And we have Gemini on the descendant. But here we go again. Let's look at the sun, because the sun is so important. It's the 99% of the chart is the sun, okay? 99% of the chart is the sun. We can't see the planets if it wasn't for the sun, because the sun gives us light and gives us understanding for the planets, but he also holds the planets where they are, right? So we have to look, because all these planets will connect to somebody some way. And me being the observer, presenting to you, I have to look at that sun. And what does that sun say to me? He says he's talking to my Mercury, because my Mercury, as I said before, and then we're observing the last chart, my Mercury is 13 degrees Cancer. It's like a perfect conjunction to U.S. in my chart. Then look at this. Look what we have. We have Mercury sitting there in Cancer, and we have him at 24 degrees retrograde, right? He's retrograde. And I bet you, when we go back and we look at these two charts together, this new moon chart, I bet you that Mercury in Cancer will make some kind of aspect to Uranus Taurus, all right? Yep. We have to look at these now. Let's move forward. Let's move forward here. It won't let me do this. I'm so sorry. I'm going to hurt your eyes. Let's zoom out. And then we're going to pull up. There's Zelensky. Yes, here we are. Pull this up here. I'm going to zoom up the chart so we can all see this. Now, here's the Declaration U.S. This is the chart we're looking at here. This is the identity. Mr. Francis Scott Key, think about his song. If we just change the anthem of the song, maybe our identity would be different, because the bombs are always bursting in the air for the U.S., is it not? And our flag will always be there. The United States. Okay, here we go. So, as we know, this is a new moon Sagittarius. And what we have here is we have the Declaration of the United States on the inside, okay? As I said before, my Mercury is 13 degrees Cancer. So it's conjunct the sun, and it's conjunct that ascendant. That's where my Mercury is sitting. And the node, look at the node for the U.S. The node is 6 degrees 36 minutes. The node is Leo. And here I am. I am a Leo at 2 degrees 34 minutes. And then I have a Jupiter in Leo at 12 degrees, okay? So very important to understand that for the U.S. You can see that U.S. That's an 8th house situation, right? The 8th house, very important house, the 8th house. And look where my sun is. My son would be that, like, right there, right? Look at this. Look where the look how the north is, right? Look at that. That's that second house right there. But look how this works, right? Look how the overlap works for the declaration U.S. Because that ascendant, the ascendant is so, right? When we look at it, U.S. is a Sagittarius ascendant. The ascendant for the new moon is Cancer, bringing the moon. Where's the moon? We're going to look at this. Where's the moon hiding? When we have this, the moon's hiding it right behind the sun, right? It's a new moon. Shadowed by it all, eclipsed. And we are looking at this. We are looking how this sun is sitting for the U.S., right? And we understand that the U.S. is a Cancer. It's a Cancer, right? At 13 degrees. We are in the second decade of Cancer. So the U.S. is a Cancer with a flavor of Scorpio, because the sun isn't in mid-house, right? Remember, the sun isn't always the happiest when he's in Cancer. He's happier when he's in Leo, right? This is like the 12th house of the sun, Cancer. It's that 12th house. It's like for the sun, it's like a Neptunian and moon blend. That's what the transit for the sun is. When any Leo is going through Cancer, that's a 12th house karma situation. Those are closets and things that are underground, that Neptune thing, that dark, watery. It's a dark, watery time period for a Leo. But for a Cancer, for a Cancer, in that time of year, when you look at this, you look at the importance of the Leos, you look at every single Leo individual, look at every single popular Leo individual in the history of the USA, and how did that Leo fill the tax man's pocket, right? Let's talk to like people like Mick Jagger, right? When the Rolling Stones rolled through the U.S., what did that do for banks at those days, right? Here's Leo. Leo's doing it. Mick Jagger is there, rocking the stage, setting on the show. He is making that wallet happen for that Cancer. Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, setting the stage, making those box office numbers soar. Look at what he's done, with futuristic stories of wars with drones. Arnold Schwarzenegger filling that pocket of the U.S. in the second house. So when we look at this new moon, and we think about these discussions, and we look at these archetypes, and we most importantly, we see that the declaration, we have to look at the U.S.'s planets, but most importantly, we have to look at this Pluto guy that is he seems hardly to be a planet at all, but he's a key player right now, because look where Pluto is now. He has finished his retrograde period, and he was in retrograde. Pluto is, even though it shows you how it always goes, right? How Pluto was actually going to sit. Because here we have a July 26th date. You can see how times change. Because pretty much what he had done here, he was doing last year. And this is part of this playlist, a new little Easter egg that we will add on to here, because we can't discuss it all under a new moon. That's why it's a playlist of everything that we will pin to the rug, right? Let's see who's been smug. Let's look at this. We have it's a funny chart when we're looking at the Declaration U.S. because Thursday. What is Thursday, folks? Thursday is a day ruled by Jupiter, right? And it's the 4th of July, and 4 is the Cancer house, right? 4 is the Cancer house. And then it's July 1776. 1776. 7 and 6 is actually 13, which is 4. If we want to put all the numbers together, that would be the other thing. But I just thought that was quite interesting because we always call it 76. And then what we have here, it's 5:10 p.m. And look at the ascendant. Look at 6 right there. Holy cow. But look, here we go. Let's move on forward. I mean, look at Jupiter. It's 5:10 p.m. Which is almost 6. Look at Jupiter. Jupiter is almost 6 degrees, right? It's absolutely crazy how the numbers speak to us, folks. It's just coming to you just more than just being a polymorph, but actually looking at this time point and seeing the marriage up of this new. Because right now, because it doesn't always happen, right? If you look at the new moon last year, which we will do, and we will take a look at this because this is this new moon. It's a playlist. We are going to dissect every single day for the next 28 days. There's going to be 28 days of this playlist. We're going to sit down and do this. Times are happening. We're on top of it. We're on the chart. We've drawn out the chart so we know what we're looking at. It's the continent belongs to Washington, D.C. Canada wouldn't have a trading partner without Washington, D.C. We have had trading partners, but holy cow, where would we get our food? Canada. It's the larger, quieter states, the larger, quieter selection of states. States that serve the whole world. Now, when we look at each planet here, we're going to look at the identification tag that we have, because with it being a Sagittarius new moon, we have to understand always when the sun and the moon, and then we have Mars, but when planets move through a sign, there is going to be a blend of those planets. There's going to be a sifting of the flower. There's going to be a shedding of the light. There's going to be an illumination of the sign, but we also have to look at what that planet is doing and where that planet is at during this time period, because the solar dial is that the sun moves a degree every day. We can't get away from it. And the moon moves that much quicker because it's a reflection. It's that lunar reflection, what we have, that 28-day period that we all are undergoing, because we are all being influenced in some particular manner by the magnetism of these overlords. And this is the key. This is the kickoff. And look how the kickoff is. Is with, because the U.S., excuse me, let me have a little sip here. The U.S. has Mars, the moon, and the sun hanging out together, having a little one-on-one trio, threesome action happening here. That's what's happening here. We got 12 degrees sitting right there for the ascendant. And here we got these 3 guys. Look at this, 12. And then we got 21, which is like 12 backwards. And then we got these 3 guys sitting here, all having a little powwow, all right? Mr. Metal, Mr. Mortality, Mr. Ego. In the first house of Mr. Metal. And that first house is ruled by Jupiter, right? And we have to look at this because we have to understand the fire signs. The fire signs don't always like to hang out with each other. There's something, Mars is going to be a yes man for Jupiter, but he's going to want to have that rebellious side against Jupiter. And then we have Jupiter, who's going to be the yes man to the Sun, but he's going to have the rebellious side against the Sun. And when they're squared to each other, then they're not operating with the Sun, right? But when they're trying, they're operating with the Sun. There's that negative side of every single planet. There's that dark side of every single planet. And it's because all these entities that we have in our solar system have bad days. We're all pulling at each other, but it's in a resonance. It's in a resonance that's basically, systematically, authoritatively ruled by the Sun. This is why we have to look at our chart every single day under the light of the Sun first. We have to look at these planets as seasonings on our sandwich of our daily day. We're all communicating, we're all trading, and this is what we have. When we have Mercury is this financial planet, right? Venus, which rules the second house, which no wonder the U.S. has been in the war for X amount of years since they became a nation. They've been at war, and why? Because Pluto, Hades, the Lord of Death, but also the Lord of Reformation, is sitting in the second house of Venus. It's a true thing, is it not? It's craziness. I mean, it's an Earth sign. I mean, Pluto is there. Pluto is a planet of Scorpio, which is a water sign. But he's a buddy with Mars. As I said before, Mars is the blade. And Pluto is like the iron that's flowing with the blood into the ground when you're done with your sound of your march we call Jupiter. Because Jupiter's the motion, As I said before, I mean, Jupiter is that motion of day. Jupiter is that, he is that second sun. He is jealous to the sun. Sagittarius will always be jealous of Leo. Always. I mean, the arrow is just a simple rod. It has feathers on behind. I mean, that lets it drift through the air. You look at the shape of the feather. You look at the shape of the feathers, and then you look at the arrow and how round it is, how perfectly it is. And then we have the tip of it, which is Mars. But that rod, that arrow, is streamlined so it can travel through the air, the gas, the water. And that its ability is that shape, its funneling shape is like a Neptunian sense, That's when we look at Sagittarius, which is the arrow, and then we look at Neptune, because we have to look at that and look how the arrow is able to pierce the water. Look at Neptune's. Look at how Neptune's fork is created too. Very simple things to understand when we understand the fluidity of the car and how it's able to travel. The aerodynamics, and seeing that Jupiter is this really busy planet that wants to be a sun. It's just lacking that ignition switch to make it go, right? And make it change the resonance of planets. But still, it would change our solar system, but still he would still have to answer to the sun. And then again, he would still want to rebel. The negative side of Jupiter, right? It's crazy, when we look at this, as I said, how we're sitting now, the new moon is happening. Our next report card is the Mercury will go retrograde And the charts will be there. A sequence of events will follow. We cannot help it. The solar system is wired to the sun, and I'm a Leo at 3 degrees. 2 degrees, 34 minutes, I'm Leo. Right past the trade over period in the strongest point of Leo. Just ask Mick Jagger. Doesn't have to be a big guy, but he knows how to twist those lyrics that will make you cry. Mr. I can't get no satisfaction in Venus and Virgo. So here we go. We're going to look at this. Mercury's going to retrograde. And we're going to look at these other planets. We're going to look at these other charts now. Because there's these other players, right? And we're going to see how these other players will hook up to this. Because, let me zoom down here. We're on this one. Now we'll move to Vladimir Putin. Okay? So what we have here is a chart. We have Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin on this chart. I'm going to zoom it up for us. So let me bring it up here for a second here. Okay, so Vlad, Putin, and we got Joe Biden. This is who we have today. This is what we're going to talk about. Now look at this. Look how, see, as I said before, when you're drawing up the charts, you have to remember where your material eye is. And you have to remember where your own chart is. That's why it's very important to memorize your chart. Because that way you know how the Father's talking to you. Because, I mean, look at this. Look at this Vladimir Putin gentleman, 11 degrees Libra. I have a part of fortune 8 degrees Libra. But what we have to really look at is how 13 degrees is sextile to my Jupiter, which is that my Jupiter would be at 12 degrees, like 12 minutes or something like this, right over here in Leo. So that would be actually a sextile there. But the ascendant, what is very important about Vladimir's ascendant is that my Mars is at 3 degrees. See, we have this here. His ascendant is at 3 degrees Scorpio. My natal Mars is 3 degrees Scorpio. And that's my house of service, right? My natal Mars is in my 6th house of Virgo. You know, the nursemaid, the daily servant. I mean, I'm the individual that has 12 guests and no assistants, right? That's when you have somebody with a Mars and Virgo in the 6th house, you're constantly servicing somebody. But now look at this though. Look at this ascendant, because he's connected to my Mars this way. Now, when we look at this gathering here of individuals, we have to look at how the charts show up. And we're going to be looking at that new moon. We're going to be looking at new moon Sagittarius. Okay, look what we catch right off the bat here, because the new moon Sagittarius is at 20 degrees, and Vladimir's Mars, because he's on the inside. Vladimir's on the inside. Joe is on the outside. Okay. But Vlad's Mars is very close to where the sun and moon is. You know, he's got a Mars at 26 degrees. That fancy 26 number is coming up again. And Jupiter, the sun and the new moon is actually sitting in Vlad's 2nd house. But when we're looking at Joe Biden's, we have to look at Joe Biden. We got to look how that's sitting for him, because Joe Biden, which is on the outside. So look how Joe Biden's Chiron is close to Vlad, and look how. But almost a point. Look at this. We got a 22 degree. We got a Pluto sitting here. We have a Pluto for Vlad. He's at 22 degrees Virgo, right? So what does that say right off the bat? Well, where this where this new moon is, where the new moon is, which is at 20 degrees, just about 21 degrees, the new moon is actually squared Vlad's Pluto. Isn't that crazy? It's a crazy street, isn't it? It's absolutely insane. Look how it is. The new moon is actually squared him right now. It's squared his Pluto. And we have to think about this because Vlad, being a Scorpio ascendant, gives him two ruling ascendant signs, or two ruling ascendant planets. And they are Pluto and they are Mars. Right? You know, look at that. And in his natal chart, the two are squared. You know, or in his natal chart, they're absolutely square to each other. And that's where that friction is. You know, people that are super rich, they'll have squares in their charts. That's why they become super rich, because those planets are causing friction to make them get up and move. Like his Venus, you look where his Venus is. His Venus is at 11 degrees Scorpio, and it's trine Uranus. And what does this guy do? He exploits uranium. That's what he does. Pluto absolutely exploits uranium. And how does he do that? He builds nuclear bombs. He builds nuclear power plants. And Venus is a volcanic planet. She's a volcanic planet. We can connect all kinds of volcano eruptions that have been historic right to Venus. You know, Mars isn't always the bad guy in the bunch. I mean, Venus has got a cool exterior, but she is absolutely volcanic on her hot side. Can't we say? Now, let's take a look here. What else we got going on here? It's very simple to look at them here. Because as I said before, that sun and moon is very important to always observe. So we look at that 20 degree mark, and he's got a Mercury right there at 21 degrees. And that new moon is practically 21 degrees. It's 20 degrees, 40 minutes. It's sitting right there. It'd be in a semi-sextile to his. Oh yeah, here. It'd be actually when we look at this right here. This is actually how the two connect right here. That would be Mercury right there, 21 degrees Scorpio. That's where this new moon. The new moon would be sitting semi-sextile to Joe's Mercury. But where would be the squares to Joe? We got that going on there. What's that Neptune doing? Yeah, as I said before, then the sun is at. See, Joe's actually a very interesting character because he's a Scorpio at 27 degrees. And when we look at that 27 degree mark, we can't forget what is making aspect at 27 degree mark right now. And we could bring this Scorpio, this Pluto guy right out in front of us. Because what is Joe doing? Okay? Let's go back here. Get out of here. And look at, we got the US. Let's go look at the two of these together here. Like before. Here is the new moon. And then here's USA. And remember, 20 heat. Joe has a Scorpio sun at 27 degrees, right? And then we look at what that Pluto is doing. That Pluto is sitting at 27 degrees. You know, that's where, for the US. But you can see, Pluto himself is sitting at 28 degrees. When we look at that, Pluto is 28 degrees Capricorn. And then when we go back down here, and look at Joe on the outside. So Pluto is sitting right over here, sextile his sun. I wonder how much wealth has come to Joe since he's been prime minister. Because Pluto's a little interesting this way, because Pluto rules wealth. I mean, it's funny how the signs work this way, because Venus is like the vault, right? The gold in the vault, that's the vault. The gold is actually, according to my honorable astrologer, gold, metal, and color is ruled by the sun. So Venus would actually rule the vault the gold sits in. When you look over at Venus in our glossary of planets, and we look for the word of vaults, I bet you I could find a vault. So you got vases and vocalists and voltages and wages and wallets. Hey, a wallet is kind of like a vault, isn't it? But the wallet is definitely where we keep our gold, right? Our wallet, that's what Venus rules. Venus rules the wallet, but the sun rules the gold. It's a true thing, isn't it? What I actually use for really lightweight. I have lots of astrology books. All of them teach me something, but I really enjoyed this really lightweight Australian. It's the Australian's Women's Weekly Home Library, and it's a lightweight little book. It's like 8.5 by 11 format. Astrology, the Richard Sterling way. Every astrologer thing has this particular way. What I like about Richard Sterling is that he's got these glossary of words in the back, and it's great. It's actually good. What we should do is actually make cards. When you show cards, a person would have to pick, the name of the terminology would be set on one side, and then the planet would be sitting on the other side, so the person would have to guess what planet each word would actually be connected with. As you catch my drift, I'm pretty sure. But the ISBN is 0949128899. Great little book. I bought it from the Banff Book and Art Den. And the Banff Book and Art Den doesn't exist anymore, but I own the book. It's one of my sayings. And it's a great little book. I'm still journeying with it today. I mean, that's why you collect books for grid down scenarios, and you maintain your knowledge. I don't know how to read. I have all kinds of books. I could teach anyone anything. So, but moving on here, when we look at these planets, because we will look with this playlist. We will look at all these different planets and all these different charts, and we will add to them as the 28 period shows, because these are the charts to watch. We will look at stressful points, like here with President Zelensky here, and we have Vladimir on the outside. Now, we can look for stressful points between these two guys. I mean, we can actually look at the connections of these charts. And first off, they're at war with each other. Now, we both know that war belongs to Mars and Pluto and Saturn. All these, we got these malefic planets. And then we have the beneficial planets, which are maybe like Jupiter and Venus and the Sun. As I said before, the Sun is our greatest umbrella. Jupiter is right behind him, and then Venus is right behind that, and then there's retrograde periods and how these beneficiary planets will take care of you or orphan you, right? But here we go. We're sitting in hard times or we're not, right? There's suffering in all of our lives, and would you look at this? What can we find here? Wow. Can we look at this? What we have here is Zelensky on the inside, right? Zelensky's on the inside, and Putin is on the outside, okay? Now, I want to show you this, right? I don't make the birth times. I just draw them up as the heart feels like they should be drawn. And we're going to learn about the new moons in a completely different fashion than anyone else before, presented on YouTube. So here we go. Look at Pluto. Putin's Pluto is sitting where? Putin's Pluto, because he's in the red, right? Putin is in the red. Right, here he is. Putin has ascendant of Scorpio, right? Putin's ascendant would be right here. And Scorpio at 3 degrees puts Pluto and Mars, there's the rulers of the planet. And look where Putin is sitting. Putin has got a Pluto at 22 degrees Leo, okay? That's where he is. And where's Saturn over here? Saturn's at 28 degrees, Look at the drift there. Pretty close. And then look at this right here, boys and girls. I tell you, it's just amazing how it looks here. We have a Pluto here at 16 degrees Libra. And then we have Putin's Sun at 13 degrees Libra. 14 degrees. It's practically 14 degrees, right? Look at it. 1356, 1641. That is definitely a connection here. And where's the Saturn sitting? Saturn's sitting at 17 degrees Libra. Saturn's sitting at 17 degrees Libra. Close to that Pluto's, for being a little planet. Pluto's a pretty popular guy, don't you think? We all have to go get our way to death somehow. As I said before, when we look at what the sun is doing in each sign, we have to illuminate. The sun is illuminate the area of that sign. And sometimes we just can't understand it until we place that chart against another chart. That's where the astrology comes in, and we could really tag the dragon, right? Because look at that node. Look at that node not too far away from Pluto. That dragon's head. Look how that dragon's head is sitting right there. Not too far from the sun, not too far from Pluto. In that 5th house. Ruled by the sun. The 5th house is ruled by the sun. Isn't astrology a fascinating place? So these are these two guys right here. These are all the charts we have for you tonight. I believe I've shared you some pretty good information here. We're going to be able to go through these again. All, as I said, this is a new 28-day playlist, and with every single new moon that comes up, this is the way we got to do it. The mind is evolving, and our astrology and our understanding of the heaven skies and what we will learn from our glossary of planets given to us by Richard Sterling, and whatever other book that comes to us over this next 28-day period is absolutely going to be fascinating. And to watch the events unravel and connect them to that new moon period, right? We got that new moon happening. And it's happening right now, and Mercury's going retrograde, and we're going to pin the events and the times right to the new moon and these planets. And we're going to bring more players to the scene, and we're going to connect them to what is happening, because the new moon's happen, right? The new moon will absolutely kick off a germination of events, a sequence of events. And as I said before, we will have a glossary, and we will have a stage a global stage of players to celebrate this playlist with from now until next June of 2024. So, returning back to the home screen, let's bring her down into size. This is what we have for you folks today. This is it. This is the find your planets within this chart. Go to astro.com, cast yourself a free chart. And as I add videos to this playlist on a daily fashion over the next 180 odd days to the full moon Sagittarius, we will have a new scope of understanding our 6 months transit through winter. I want to thank you all for having me. I hope to see you next time. I promise it's only going to get brighter because this is the darkest point of the cycle. See you tomorrow.